Hello, amazing souls. Welcome to the Soul Vibe Insights Podcast, a show to demystify the soul, intuition, and the Akashic Records. We know a thing or two about the ups and downs of being on a spiritual growth plan and how to find the higher perspective, even when it seems like there isn't one. I'm your host, Maddie Hollingsworth.
And I'm your host, Emily Pearl. We've been professional intuitives and energy healers for over 20 years now. We believe each of us are on a unique path of growth and learning, and our intuition is meant to be our guide. The problem is, most of us have never learned how to use it. That's where we come in, helping you discover how your intuition works and the lessons your soul has chosen to learn in this life is what we're all about.
All right, y'all, let's jump right into today's show. Hey there, amazing soul friends, and welcome back to another show. Emily and I are really excited to be here with you once again, and we're going to dive into just what a past life regression session with a spirit guide meeting is like. I know I kind of went off on the deep end last week and covered all the ways I've worked with past life energy and some of my personal experiences and the healings I've received and the information that I've gotten, just how much has transformed my life. And because of that, we kind of ran out of time to really dive into what a session is like. And so that's what we want to do in today's show.
Yeah, past life regression sessions are just crazy, pretty much. Think about that dream that you've had where you can't stop thinking about it all day. It's that real plus more, because it doesn't go away like a dream does. It stays with you. I feel like I can always kind of tap into the different lifetimes that I've experienced through past life regression at this point. Do you feel that way?
I totally agree that I can tap back into that. It's kind of like opening up a book and just diving back into what happened before for me, and then, being able to re-experience, but also feel the energy that was going on and regain maybe little nuances here or there on the lessons that were learned.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Well, considering that dreaming is the most common intuitive gift that people have, then I can imagine people could at least relate to that.
Yeah, it is the most common, so I'm sure people can relate.
Well, shall we get started, or should we start with a life update? There's not really too much to update on. We went to Rocky Mountain National Park yesterday, which was pretty cool. Got to take a very slippery, icy walk to see Dream Lake and Nymph Lake and Bear Lake.
And Bear Lake, yep.
It was really beautiful. And then on our way out, we were just cruising, watching the sunset, and it was so beautiful. It was like this pink color with this blue underneath, and then all of a sudden we look over and there was just a fox sitting on the side of the road.
Just hanging out, what are y'all up to? This is what I'm doing. I'm chilling right here.
I swear it was waiting for us too.
It was sitting there literally looking in the direction that we were driving. It felt like it was waiting on us to come up.
And then as soon as Maddie picked up his phone, and because he was driving and was on his side, as soon as he picked up his phone to start recording, the fox just dove right into this hole, and then was just being such a goofball, which I guess that's just the fox life.
Yeah, definitely that charming
so
lake energy was coming out and playing around and, just goofing with itself, just chilling. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a lovely day. It was a much needed break away from the computers.
Yes, very much needed. Wonderful. Chilly day, but it was cool to see some mini frozen lakes and some quintessential views from Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah,
I know
nice.
I know if you pull up Rocky Mountain National Park, you're going to see Nymph Lake and Dream Lake and some of those shots that we took, except ours are frozen pictures and stuff.
Yeah, it was cool. So shall we get started on past life regressions?
Let's dive in, my love.
All right.
So the first thing I would say is that your desires for discovery will help drive the experience of what will come up for you. In essence, these sessions are all about finding the awareness surrounding past life energy that's still at play in your current life. This is what Emily and I call a past life hangover. Some other people might call them karmic complexes. But these are the things that your soul is seeking healing for in this lifetime. So you didn't fully balance that energy at some point in the past, and it's still at present here. And this could be very obvious in your life, These could be just limiting beliefs that pop up that we're not as so consciously aware until we are aware of them. These are the things that your family could have helped teach you so they'd be in place in this lifetime as well, to be healed and to find that balance within so you can have that inner transformation.
Yeah, I think that whether you even believe in past lives or not, whatever comes up in a session, well, you will have some sort of journey. It's very interesting that you will still have this very vivid journey, but whatever presents itself is definitely something that is present in your psyche and is having some sort of effect on your life. Whether it be, like Maddie said, a limiting belief or some sort of just negative thought that kind of umbrellas your entire life. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a negative thought, but if you're coming into the session and you're like, I want to know why, well, I mean, okay, for example, my session, I went in, I was like, I want to know more about my soul purpose. I want to know more about that. But what really came up was an obstacle preventing me from living my soul's purpose. And so the obstacle is, I mean, my soul's purpose has a lot to do with truth and finding truth, helping other people get to the bottom of their truth. I mean, truth is definitely something that I seek, that I want to face, even if it sucks. But truth is definitely something that is important to me. And I feel more relaxed around people that I know that are speaking truth, even if it's like, you know, you're annoying me right now. Stop what you're doing. I would rather know that than like know that they're like fuming underneath, knowing that I'm annoying them, but not saying anything and being like, oh, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Everything's fine. Even though you're like, I know everything's not fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it was more of an obstacle that came up for me that was preventing me from fully stepping into my personal power and living my soul's purpose. And it had to do with truth and how I have the tendency to search for truth when it has to do with someone else, when it may or may not be a truth that I am ever willing to be able to discover because it's theirs. And so I'll try to like match the patterns and try to understand and spend hours trying to figure it out when it's not really something for me to figure out. And so that was like a big lesson that I took from my past life regression. Because it was a lifetime. When I was 18 years old, my parents like disappeared, essentially. I mean, at least from my perspective, they disappeared. And I spent my entire lifetime like trying to figure out what happened to them when it wasn't really something that I could even figure out. It was just like something I just sat and mulled on for like ever and ever, day after day for 40 years before I finally started living with other people. And so it was like I basically wasted my life searching for this truth that wasn't mine to know, instead of just accepting that it happened and moving forward. So it was a really tough first past life. Well, that wasn't the first past life experience, but the first past life regression that I experienced. So that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but it really just drove home how sometimes we have these obstacles in our lives that are keeping us from achieving what we want or from living that soul purpose. In this case, that was your desire, was to find that out more, and then finding out what is potentially preventing you from knowing it because you were losing time to that in this life. Not 40 years worth of time, but you could make those connections where that energy began.
Yeah.
And how it's being brought up now to be healed, to finally, for you to find balance within yourself, within your soul.
But I think another part of it is understanding who I can be honest with and who it's a waste of time to try to be honest and explain myself to. Because I think that's another facet of it as well. Some people are committed to misunderstanding one's truth and not willing to even care or ask the questions to even know the truth. They just are like, oh, you said that? Oh, I'm just going to make assumptions that aren't completely, not even close to being right, and then making all these assumptions. And so I think that's also part of it, is knowing who I can trust with my truth and who maybe isn't really deserving of it all because they're not willing to care enough.
Well, I find that some people, anything that is outside of themselves, it's truth for someone else that might shatter a mirror or potentially change their reality, can get pushed against. And like you said, they'll hear something and then make assumptions. Take those two sentences that you said that were about, the truth of your experience, and run with it in a different direction so it fits what's comfortable and safe for them within their own mind and personas and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And that there are others that are like, whoa, I've never thought about it that way. Wow. And then start asking questions and want to dive in with you, and those are definitely more our kind of people for sure, right there.
Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about what a past life regression session is like.
Well, first off, I would say that when we get together for the session, these are going to go anywhere from about 2.5 hours to maybe 3 hours long. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that you as our client are comfortable. And we're going to spend some time kind of being two friends having a conversation. This is about when I said that your desires for discovery will help drive your experience of what comes up. Having this conversation at a time. What's going on in your life? Why are you here? These are the kind of questions that we're going to ask. And then you get to talk about it so it's fresh on your mind, what you're going through, why you've come for a session, what you're hoping to discover answers to or have energy come up for. And then ultimately, we're going to trust your spirit guides and your soul and your unconscious mind to deliver exactly what you need. And it may be exactly what you came for, or it may show you the biggest obstacle to achieving that. Or the next
something
thing,
else.
or the next thing that needs to work on to get towards that. So that, there is a bit of a trust factor that your soul and your spirit guides and your unconscious mind are going to deliver the experience you need. Because it's going to be a richly textured experience, no matter how you intuit things. Whether you're clairvoyant and see stuff, or claircognizance and just know, or clairsentience and feel things, you're going to have a richly textured experience of sensations.
Yeah, but we should rewind just a little bit. Even before we even meet with you, we do have an intake form where you fill out the questions that you want us to ask your spirit guide when we get to that point, and also what your intentions for the meeting is. And then when we meet with you in person, then you can kind of elaborate on those answers. So this is something you've already thought about before we even meet. So it's not like we're putting you on the spot like, oh gosh, what do I want for my session? No, this is something that you've been thinking about already, that you've put time and effort into formulating questions and really kind of doing a little bit of soul searching before this point. Because these are very deep experiences, and these are they're life-changing experiences.
They have that potential. And honestly, that's why I always chose them. And so far, the people that we've worked with have chosen this because they want to have a life-changing experience. They want to shift and transition something within.
Well, I think if they go into it with that intention, then that is going to be what's going to happen.
Ding, ding, ding. There's that word intention. Absolutely. And speaking of something deep, what we're going to do after we have a conversation for a little while and we go over the questions that you want us to ask later with the spirit guide session is we're going to spend time inducing a deep meditation-like energy, a hypnotic-like state, but consciously aware, just deeply relaxed. And we're going to be getting out of those beta waves where you're active in your mind and into those alpha waves that are starting to get into that deep relaxation, meditation, and then hopefully we hit those theta waves. And that's right before delta, when you fall asleep. And when you're in the theta wave state, this is when you're tapped into your superconscious. This is that lucid dreamlike state where you're consciously aware, but at the same time, you can just let the answers flow. You're not thinking about them. Your conscious is here and you're aware, but you're just flowing from this lucid, dreamlike state. We induce this, so we spend some time getting to this point, and then we drop into a past life.
Sometimes you just never know where you're going to be, where you're going to drop in.
I think it's one of the more interesting points because there's not a let's start
point of reference
here. There's no point of reference. So you just drop into a life, and it's kind of like your guides and soul are taking us where they want you to go at first. So we have to figure that out and explore it a bit, find out what's going on.
Yeah, for me, in my first experience, it was I dropped in, I'm just like in this cave. I'm in a cave in Morocco, but of course I don't know I'm in Morocco yet. I'm just in this cave and I'm just looking out this opening and have no idea where I am, what I'm doing. And it was really crazy because it wasn't until my guide, his name was Scott, it wasn't until he said the words, "Are you with other people or are you alone?" And it was like the alone word just like triggered everything. It was at that point I realized my family was gone and I was alone. And it was like I went from, I have no idea where I am, and then he said those words and I was like immediately like panicked and crying. It was just such a crazy experience. Because I mean, up until that point, I was like, oh, I guess I can't do this. This isn't something that's going to work on me, or I don't know. I feel like all this pressure to be able to go somewhere, but I'm not seeing anything, and I'm not doing it right. And then it was just like immediately, I like was in tears.
And then the flow happened.
Yeah, and then from that point on, it was like all of these answers, all of these different visuals, and I mean, all of this information just came in. It was pretty crazy as we kind of moved throughout the lifetime.
And I think from a guiding perspective, we kind of know what we're trying to achieve in helping our clients gather information. And we know when we just land into a life that there's no frame of reference. So we have questions kind of at our ready that we want to ask. But then there's also just an intuitive aspect to it. And in that moment, I think Scott probably realized, here's the question. And he just asked it and boom, it triggered it.
Yeah.
You know? So I
sure.
love that aspect, that it's kind of like having a plan, a plan of action to somewhat follow, and then being wide open for your intuition as the guide to kind of help take us and move us around. And I really, truly believe that your spirit guides and our spirit guides are working together in this moment. That, you're intuitively sending things to us that we need to know to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
To dig underneath the surface a little bit more. And for me, as guiding these sessions is what's really exciting, is what's going to happen as far as going into a past life, but you have no idea what's going to happen.
Right.
It's a new experience every time. It's so freaking fun to guide this, and we're looking for nuggets of information to bring about awareness that's going to help our clients. So that's my intent. That's what we're going for, and we're super passionate about it and love it. And it's this new experience every time, even though the intention's the same, to help you uncover exactly what you need to create change and transition and more thriving energies in your life, to bring about healing and balancing karma if we can from one session.
Yeah, it always blows my mind just how vivid the pictures are for our clients. Like when you ask a question about, what are you seeing right now? Where are we? And it's just they describe this whole scene. And I mean, sometimes they can even tell you exactly what point of time they are in, like what year. I mean, sometimes those details aren't important. Sometimes they come out later in the session. It's just so interesting how vivid the details come, and how the client always seems to know exactly what they're trying to get from the session as well, and how the information just flows in. Yeah, I love asking all the different questions and trying to get, really get the information, extract the information that's necessary for the higher learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. It's
so cool.
It's so cool. So once we've dropped into a past life and we've kind of got our bearings and, we're rolling along, we're definitely going to make an effort to try and connect with your family from this lifetime. Maybe move back to when you were younger. Where did you grow up? Try to get a semblance of what family life is like. See what sort of energies have been at play here. Was this a happy home? Was it a mixed bag home?
I think every home's mostly mixed
true.
bag.
We just want to get a feel for the energies of your family life and where you grew up, because these are our environmental years when we're young. They really help shape our lifetimes, what our family and home life was like. So we always make sure to go there and get an experience for that. And then we like to move to what we would just call a significant moment in your life, and let your higher self, let your spirit guides, let you decide what that is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's more than one significant moment. It really just kind of depends on what we're there to understand, what it is in your psyche that, your spirit guides are trying to show you that's present in your life now. And this could be anywhere from, you had issues in a relationship, or you had a lost love, and maybe that's still affecting you in this lifetime, where you just have this sinking feeling with you always, oh my gosh, it's almost like you can't even enjoy your relationship fully because you have this sinking feeling that you're going to lose them early. Or maybe that's present, with your children, where you're constantly worried, and that could be, a thread from a past life.
Absolutely. If you lost somebody tragically and maybe even declared, I'll never love again, this pain is too much, and you carry that forward into your lifetimes, and you haven't found healing or balance, that could be that nagging feeling that's always there, that at any moment your lover's just going to leave, or you're going to lose them. Or as Emily mentioned, maybe a child or something. These are the kind of threads of energy, the hangovers, that could potentially be existing, and only you know what they might be. But this is the kind of stuff we're looking to explore depending on what your desires for discovery are. And it's definitely not one significant moment. There's at least, 2 or 3 moments in time that usually get explored. We have enough time to really try to paint a full picture, if you will. And we're not only looking for the potential hangovers or things that we've brought forth that need healing. You may have a challenge in your life and need to know that you've acquired skills in the past that would be perfect for utilizing right now, but because we come with spiritual amnesia, we're not tapped into everything. So you need to remember.
Yeah, that's a really big one.
Absolutely. But you need to validate that you have that strength within yourself. You've been here before. You've done this. You got this.
Yeah, I know. I was in a session with a client who felt very alone in this lifetime. And she was taken to this lifetime where she was just so loved. She was admired. She was like a teacher, and she was just so admired and so loved. And she had so much love surrounding her at the time of her death. And that's what she took with her, into spirit, was I was so loved. And that's what she was able to bring back to this lifetime with her. So that was a really powerful moment for her to realize, wait a minute, I'm not alone. I am loved, and there are people that really cherish and value me. And that was a really big realization for her. That really helped bring a lot of peace into her heart, into this lifetime.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I had a client that came out of a session, and the first words out of their mouth were, I understand everything's going to be okay. I know what I got to do now. Just immediately came out of the session and had a full realization that the experiences of the past life had prepared them perfectly for what was going on in their lifetime now. And that they were unsure that they were going to be able to, not to deal with it, but to really come out on top, to be the highest good for them and their family. And that was kind of a worry and a concern, and saw in a past life just how amazing they'd already been, that they already had this skill set within their soul to juggle all of the things and still be a kind and loving parent and partner in life. It was so beautiful. The first words out of their mouth, I fully understand.
Yeah, that higher perspective moment, and that like resonates deep into the core of your being and ripples out into all of your many lifetimes. It really, I mean, it changes the fabric of who you are when you gain that awareness. I know we talked about it a lot, in the last podcast, but the awareness of the higher perspective of why you're here, what you're doing, why you have the challenges you have, why you have the obstacles put in place to help you learn. Like when you're able to grasp those nuggets and understand those keys, then, I mean, it really does just change your life. From that point on, it's like instantaneous. It's pretty incredible.
It opens up all the possibilities of how things can be different. And your transformation happens then.
Which I feel like this is a great segue to lead into our favorite part of the entire past life regression, which is the end part, where after the death scene, you raise up into spirit and we take a little trip to visit with your spirit guide.
Yeah, we see who's waiting to meet you. Mm-hmm. Some souls need someone to come meet them and kind of help them go back to spirit. Some souls literally come out of their body and they're like, wee, and they start doing flips and they're like, I'm free. And they just rocket up towards heaven or spirit, if you will. So, we kind of check in and see what's going on, and we just make sure that we get you up into spirit, and then we take you to meet with your main spirit guide.
Yeah, or guides, just depending on who wants to be present.
Yeah, sometimes past loved ones have shown up before, from your current life.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely happened. And it's been such a surprise, too.
Yeah.
To see those people show up, like for the client. Yeah, so when you're meeting with your spirit guide, it's just, it's one of the most beautiful experiences. I know me personally, but also as a guide for others. It's just such a beautiful experience to witness.
Well, and the energy shifts.
It does.
We're in past lives and we're experiencing the energies of typically earthly realities. Sometimes we could be in a different star system or planet, but the vast majority of them are earthly realities. So we're still in kind of a 3D life. And then we move into spirit, and now we're in the astrals. The energy changes. The vibrations that I have felt within my body shift.
Yeah.
Big time. And something Emily and I do is we make sure to ask some questions to your spirit guide around the learnings of the lifetime you were just shown, to make sure we solidify those lessons and that we got everything you needed to get from that lifetime, that we did extract the right nuggets of information, and that through our questioning and guidance that the puzzle pieces have been put together for you. And if they haven't, this is a chance for your soul and your spirit guide to really help solidify that or put the last few pieces in alignment. That way you get the full picture of why that lifetime was shown to you.
Yeah, because that's really important to understand the why that lifetime came up, what it is that you need to learn and bring back to this lifetime from those experiences. So that's extremely important.
If there's any, sometimes we'll have an experience and we'll leave an energy trace there, and we'll look to see if there's any energy that we can bring back into your soul to reinvigorate you, to make sure if there's any lost essence that we gather that back up. So this is something else we'll be checking on as well. And then we get to the questions that you submitted and that we really kind of nailed down in the beginning of the session when we are just having the conversation. Because we go over your questions one by one to fully grasp and understand what you're asking, why you're asking that question, and what you're hoping to achieve from that question. That way we can ask follow-up questions to really understand and get to the truth of the questions that you're wanting to have answered. And it's so crazy. This is the most mind-blowing part when you are talking directly to the spirit guide, because sometimes we ask if we can just speak to the spirit guide directly, and then it's the person,
our client, of course, with their permission, we ask them, is it okay if we speak to your spirit guide? So essentially they start channeling their own spirit guide, and like their voice changes, their demeanor changes, the amount of wisdom and the words that come from their mouth, it's just, it still blows my mind. It's the most incredible thing.
Yeah, it's really wild. Like Emily said, that, to hear a voice that you've been listening to in session and talking to for, a couple hours at this point, an hour and a half or two, and it shifts in the tone and the inflections and the speed at which they talk. Like all of these changes can take place. But what I find the most wild is these words are coming out of your own mouth. No one else is helping you intuit the information or giving you guidance. I'm not telling you, hey, this is what I'm getting. This is what I'm intuitively picking up for you. No, this is coming directly from your soul and your spirit guide. This is very personal information, but it comes out of your own mouth. The truth of that, for me personally experiencing that, is it just hits me deep in my own core that, I'm saying these things. This is coming out of me. No one else is offering this up. These are questions I wanted answers to, and in some cases, I was shocked by the answers I was giving.
Yeah.
Because my human logical mind couldn't go there to what was coming up.
Yeah.
And these questions at this point, we let our clients know beforehand, like, we're going to cover everything about the past life. So these are questions that are pertinent to your life now. Yeah. What's going on for you right now or has been in your life to ask, to get guidance on?
Yes. And I mean, the wisdom that just comes from the client's mouth is just breathtaking. Just listening to their motivations and the reasons for things happening in their life. A lot of people want to know about their soul's purpose. I know that's what I kind of wanted more clarity around when I had my past life regression. And so a lot of people, want to ask about that, but then there's, people want to know about relationships. They want to know why things keep happening, like why these themes keep happening in their life and what the purpose behind that is. I mean, the sky is the limit as far as what questions can be asked and what answers come through. It's really incredible.
I totally agree. I feel like I should have tried to write down examples that I've had in the past because it's so wide open and mind-blowing what comes out.
Indeed. Well, I feel like we should talk about how the end of the session happens. So after the spirit guide meeting, we basically regress you back into your body, into the now. We're, of course, there for questions if you want, but a lot of time people are just like, they need some time to process. They just want to spend some time alone with themselves. So we tell you how much we love you and what an honor it's been to guide you on this journey, and then we get off the call. But of course, we're always there for follow-up questions or guidance or any kind of assistance afterwards, if need be.
For me, guiding sessions, most of the experiences are just, wow, oh, I saw this and I figured that out, and not so much any questions. We're a part of that experience and we can help you with it, but quite often it's my clients are just already like letting me know what they're assimilating, basically.
Yeah.
They don't need my guidance at that point. I'm there to kind of reverberate things off of, and it usually doesn't last too long. Like Emily mentioned, then it's kind of like, okay, I want some alone time to process now. But that's usually what happens is, oh, and this, and this, and this. And the cool thing about past life regression is you're experiencing such a richly textured environment, and so much comes through that you'll find that even more things in the coming, even hours afterwards, but days, weeks, months. Even now when I tap back in, I can sometimes find a new nugget, a new layer of information, because I'm not the same person that had that past life regression, because I've already gone through transformations from it. And then my new level of understanding can pick up new levels of energy that are present.
Totally.
So I do think that's another cool facet of this, is it's not just like the session's over and you got what you got and that's it. You get to take this energy with you and transform from it, and then potentially find new things within it to help you know even more and to learn even more about yourself.
Yeah, that definitely was the case for me. And I know that with follow-up conversations with clients, that's definitely been the case for them. And what I think is the coolest part is that they now have an open channel to their spirit guide to speak to at any time.
Bingo.
They're able to tap back in and speak with their spirit guide and have a conversation and that open level of communication now, like after the sessions.
Absolutely. It can definitely...
Which I think is so cool.
It's very cool. I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's really amazing because now our clients have this connection with your guide. It deepens your intuition. It may not have been the intent to go in for intuitive development for this, but you come out having developed your intuition and a deeper connection to your guide.
Yeah.
It's like this beautiful gift as part of having a past life regression, is it deepens your intuition too.
Yeah, that's very true. And I know that happened for me. I mean, the first time I ever was able to open up a line of communication with the spirit guide was through the Akashic record work, because I had never...
Yep.
I'd always heard of people talking to their spirit guides, and I was like, that's bullshit. But then it happened, finally, with the Akashic record. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't bullshit. This is actually a thing. But then I met a different guide during my past life regression, and I was able to kind of understand the differences and their purposes in my life, which has been really cool. And I can still like call upon them when I have questions or for answers for specific things. So that's been such a really cool byproduct, I guess, or like you said, a gift of past life regression. So
it's a byproduct that feels like a gift.
Yeah, well, it is a gift for sure.
Well, that pretty much wraps up what having a past life regression is like. If you have any questions, I always put the link to our email in the show notes, so you can always contact us. If you've had any experience with past lives, like, hit us up, let us know what it was like for you. I love reading about other people's experiences and being able to share in your journey in that way as well.
Absolutely. And if you are interested in having a past life regression and spirit guide meeting with one of us, then we are offering 50% off of a session for our podcast listeners, because we love doing these sessions and we're so excited to be your guide on this journey. So if that's something that you feel like you could really benefit from, then it would be an honor to guide you on this journey.
It absolutely would. So just send us an email that you're ready to have a past life regression and spirit guide meeting with Emily or myself, and we will send you a coupon code to get 50% off and a link to book directly with us.
Well, thank you all so much for listening today. It's been super fun talking about the past life regressions.
I love breaking down our work and what it's like and sharing our experiences. It's just the coolest.
Totally.
All right, we love y'all. Until next week, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.